Hey there, listener. G-Man here. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it's free. They're creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your own phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app and go to anchor.fm. That's anchor.fm to get started. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Stop, listen, and ask yourself, have you ever pondered at the idea that there may be something to the other side? If so, and you're hearing my voice for the first time, then you may have just fallen into the void. Hey, and welcome to the 10th episode of Into the Void, where we talk about anything and everything paranormal. That's right, this is the 10th episode, and so far we have had some very interesting talks and discussions on this show. From discovering who we are and what the show is about, to our first submitted ghostly encounter. And we are not done yet. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the first 9 episodes, be sure to do so by tuning in on any one of these listening platforms: Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Anchor. For this episode, I have with me some very special guests who will be sharing with us their ghostly encounter and their own witness account of not one but multiple UFOs. So, without a doubt, I'm not going to waste any more time because I want to get right into this. You may have seen them play at events like Burning Man, Lucidity Festival, and the House of Blues in Hollywood, California, right before they officially shut their doors. They are playing their way through the sound waves of Los Angeles and making a name for themselves in our hearts. Please give a warm ear to the band that truly cares about the environment, Blooming Fire. Blooming Fire, welcome to Into the Void.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having us.
I'm so happy you guys are here. This is amazing. So what I want to do is I'd like to do your band announcements, because I know you guys have some announcements you want to make, and then we'll get into the ghostly encounter along with the save the best for last, the UFO encounter. First of all, let me just ask, who is all in the band? Because I know there's 3 of you, but I believe there's more.
So there's 5 main members, and then we also play with a percussion player. So it's us 3, Dryden Van Cleve, Ian Nagay, who's my brother, Sierra Nagay, I go by both.
Okay.
Our bass player is Alyssa Sanders, and our drummer is Robbie Coe. And then our percussion player, who's a LA native, is Louis. How do you say his last name? Barragan, right? Barragan.
Oh, that's exotic last name.
Yeah, he's
exotic claim.
He's exotic.
That's awesome. Little quick summary. How did the band come together? Just out of curiosity here.
So I met Dryden at a musician's jam party at our buddy Blue's house. I was coming from a concert and was very late to the party and was like, I'm going to go anyway. I'll just wing it. So I grabbed my sax. I was coming from a Thievery Corporation concert and went to just hang out with friends and other musicians. And I got there for the last group jam. So there was 30 musicians in the room. Dryden being one of them. He was on the keys. I played sax. Last song, everybody left the room except Dryden and the guy who owned the house, Blue, who used to be the drummer in our band originally. But when I met Dryden, I pretty much just laid it on him and was like, I want to make music with you. This is what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. It was love at first sight when it comes to music.
Oh, that's cool.
Musical soulmates. It was a really special connection. And then a month later, we started making music and then started adding members. And my brother moved out here. We brought Robbie in. We've had some member changes, but the 4 of us, Robbie, Dryden, Ian, and I, we've been in the band for almost all 5 years. Mm-hmm. And since we've been playing every week, 1 to 5 times a week for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. So let's jump into, you said you had some announcements you want to make, so go ahead and lay it on us.
A good way to keep updated with us, because we're always adding shows and adding little things, is to follow our Facebook or our Instagram. If you type in Blooming Fire, anything blooming, like a flower blooms and then fire, you'll you'll find our shows. We keep it pretty updated.
That's awesome. I know this isn't actually one of the questions I had, but I just was recalling something. I remember seeing your Facebook, and you guys do like an environmental beach day cleanup type thing.
Yeah, so we wanted to arrange a beach cleanup for Earth Day this year, but Ian's going to be competing in like a downhill longboarding festival type of thing. So
nice.
he does downhill longboarding.
Okay.
So for actual Earth Day, we're not going to be doing it. But have you heard of the trash tag thing that's going on?
Yeah.
So pretty much like what people are doing, it's like a hashtag that's going around the internet, is they're like taking a photo of a trash area and then they take a picture of yourself like with it, and then when it's cleaned and you just clean an area randomly. So we're going to be doing like a blooming fire day where we go out and we're going to do like a couple areas and do some trash tags.
That sounds like fun.
We'll definitely have some beach cleanups coming up this summer through Heal the Bay. We do all of our beach cleanups through Heal the Bay.
Awesome.
We adopt a beach, so we'll have 3 this year. We just haven't announced the dates for that yet.
Okay. Well, I definitely look forward to that. That sounds like a lot of fun. And these places that you guys are going to be playing at, oh my gosh, can I just follow the tour? That'd be great. All right. Well, let's get into the 2 stories that Dryden over here had been telling me about. We've been talking back and forth through social media. You sent me 2 of those stories, which creep me out on every level. And when someone can send me a story that creeps me out, that tells me that there's definitely something there. So, Dryden, why don't you go ahead and kind of give me a summary of the paranormal activity story, and we'll get into a little bit of that, and then we'll get definitely into the UFO story.
Yeah, for sure. Quite a few stories to tell in my day.
Back in my day.
Back in my
Yeah,
day.
don't get him started. Don't get him too started here.
I didn't become a wizard for nothing. Yeah, these experiences kind of shaped me into being a wizard. Yeah, so this story in particular, the one that we're focusing on now, I guess about 6-7 years ago, I was seeing a girl who lived on this side of town, like Hacienda Heights, and her aunt was very well off. She worked in the city council, and she owned a house. There's an expo center over there in City of Industry, and if you pass the expo center, you keep going up the hill. At the top, there's like this remote location where these like really nice, luxurious houses, and you can see the entire San Gabriel Valley from up there. Downtown LA on the horizon, and at night it's a beautiful, amazing array of lights.
On a beautiful, clear night when there's no smog.
When there's no smog, yeah. Once in a blue moon, right? There was a moment in time where her aunt had asked, my girlfriend's name at the time was Jenny, and asked Jenny to have us house sit at this house. So we thought it'd be a great opportunity to sort of spend some quality time together and get a little whiff of the life of luxury. I was really looking forward to it. We were really excited. First night, we're just chilling out, and we noticed as it started to get a little later, there was like some creaks and cracks going on in the level above us. Don't really think anything much of it, probably just something in the HVAC system, but it was kind of creepy. We just kind of wrote it off, but then there was like this thump, like a boom, and we're like, okay, that is highly unusual, and I was just worried that there was somebody else in the house at that point in time. So being the man of the house, I grabbed a baseball bat, and I went up there in the next level and checked it out. There wasn't anything off kilter. Everything seemed fine. Went to sleep, and we slept in the master bedroom. It was really weird because there was a king-size bed in there which faced like these mirrors, closet door mirrors. And they say you're not supposed to face your bed towards mirrors like that.
Yeah,
when you wake up, you shouldn't be looking at yourself.
Right, yeah. There's actually a whole entire thing about that, superstitious-wise. Yeah.
Right.
The feng shui.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It throws off your feng
Not
shui.
feng shui. But I remember just like having some really eerie dreams that night, and when I woke up in the morning, I went to go take a shower, and it went from like searing hot to ice cold, and I went and checked the water heater, and the flame had gone out somehow. So that was the first night. Nothing highly unusual. It was just a little odd. I was feeling a little creeped out. It was the next night where things started getting really weird. So we went out for ice cream, and when we came back, the sliding glass door was wide open. And I specifically remember locking everything up really well before we left. I mean, we're in charge of this umpteen $1 million house. Of course, they're going to lock up before you leave, right? And then we start hearing some creaks, and it sounded like footsteps, like thump, thump, thump. above her head. I'm like, okay, great. Now someone's in the house. I told Jenny, I said, be prepared to call 911. Grabbed the baseball bat again. I went up there and I noticed that one of the bedroom doors was opened. All those doors were closed. So I was just really scared that someone was in the house, and I was kind of fearing for my life, but I'm like, I'm gonna go in there and check this out. So I'm slowly making my way through the dark, and then I go into the bathroom, and the light was on, and the shower door, I was so worried that there was someone behind that shower curtain. And I just, of course, in a dramatic fashion, just retracted the shower curtain.
A psycho moment, just pulling the curtain back, yeah.
Nothing there. We're hanging out, and then those noises keep happening. But this is when things kind of really take a turn for the worse. We were kind of fooling around, and all of a sudden, there was like a big, another thump on the wall. We stopped what we were doing, and it was those moments where it's kind of like deer in the headlights. You just you're paralyzed with fear. It was one of those moments. And we were taking care of a golden retriever as well. The golden retriever was a really mellow dog, but it got really freaked out by what was happening, and it went over to the bottom of the stairs. And that's when we could actually feel like this energy. I knew there was something there. There was a presence in the house. I could feel it. I felt this before throughout my life and the umpteen paranormal experiences I have experienced. But I just knew that there was something there. There was something that was not right. And we're just kind of waiting, in anticipation what's going to happen next. And then the dog just retracts its teeth and its ears back and just starts barking. Like I've never heard it before.
Just barking at nothing?
Barking at the top of the stairs.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, oh my God. What's going to happen? Like, we knew something was there. And I ended up calling the dog back over, calming the dog down, like trying to calm ourselves down. Naturally, at that point, I'm telling my girl we need to get out of the house. I mean, there's obviously something in this house that doesn't want us to be here. And it seems to only get uptight when we're affectionate with each other. Very strange, yeah.
It's
naughty,
funny.
naughty.
It's funny actually you mentioned that, because I have read so many stories and gotten a lot of stories through emails where people have become intimate and then all of a sudden something happens. So I have a theory on that, but let me let you finish first before I give you my thoughts on that.
I'd be interested to hear that one, G-Man.
Well, you shall.
Right on. Things really started getting weird that night. I was having just absolute terrifying dreams.
Can you recall some of the dreams that you had?
I vaguely remember, not in detail, but I do remember that they were taking place in an older time, and it seemed to be taking place around where the house was. So I'm wondering, what if this is on like some burial ground of some kind? I don't know what to think. I woke up repeatedly throughout the night, in cold sweats, and we kept hearing those noises. And you'd literally hear somebody walk across. It wasn't like just, that could be a footstep. It was like somebody walking across the top level, and then you hear it, boom. And I couldn't wait to get out of that house. I couldn't wait to get up at the crack of dawn and go to work. I usually don't look forward to going to work, but staying there I did. And nothing seemed to happen during the day. It was only later at night. So it kind of culminated the next night when we walked in there. All the cabinet doors were opened at the same angle in the kitchen. It was very, very creepy. I'm like, okay, it's almost like, are they pointing at something? Like, what's going on here?
Right, yeah.
How, like, everything to be open with that kind of precision. It's just very odd. And I mean, at that point, it's like, okay, what are we in store for now? Jenny wouldn't let us leave because, we had to stay there and house sit. And we had to stay there with the dog, and we had nowhere else to put the dog. So finally, the last night, that's when I had a straight-up night terror and sleep. I experienced sleep paralysis. It was weird. It was almost like an out-of-body experience where I felt like I was leaving my body, where I could see, but my eyes were actually closed.
Right.
And I remember looking at my girl, and she was kind of awake, and I felt she sensed that something was wrong with me. And then I felt this pressure on my chest, and it just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I couldn't shake that.
Almost like you're being pushed down, like sinking out into the bed.
Yes, exactly. But it was against my chest, and then it started constricting my breathing. So I couldn't breathe. And then I'm like, I'm in trouble here. If I can't get a breath soon, I'm going to die. Like, I'm seriously going to die. And this is the one and only time I've actually experienced sleep paralysis. I know my girlfriend actually said that she experienced many times, never in that house, but she said she had experienced that. And now here I am. And it took every ounce of energy to shake that and fight off whatever was pushing down on me. But that was like what I projected was a power that I'd never really felt before. It was just like this sudden moment where I'm fighting for my life and I'm gonna get through this. Just throw it off.
You're trying everything in your power to get up or trying to move something of your body, and it's not allowing you to. Yeah, that sleep paralysis stuff it's really scary, and I can relate definitely because I went to Rio Hondo Community College, and I stayed up in the green room to sleep, I think because I was super tired from a class or whatever, slept on this couch, and everyone always talked about how there's a ghost in the theater, and if you ask anybody, anyone will tell you there's always a ghost in the theater, but this one, like, there was a particular feeling that you get when you go in this green room. So I lay on this couch, this set prop couch, lay down, take a nap, and I swear within the hour, it felt like somebody had come to sit on me, and I was doing everything in my power to move my body, and it just was not happening.
Yeah,
it was,
that's
and
scary.
like breathing was hard,
Uh-huh.
and finally, like there was this moment in my head where I'm yelling, "Get up, get up, get up!" And I finally am able to get up, and it's like I can breathe again. I left that room, never went back in there after that. Yeah. Oh, it's not fun. It's not fun.
Not at all. So when I fought off this demon or whatever it was that was pressing down the core of my being, I shot up. Like I sat up and took like the biggest breath I've ever taken in my entire life. Like I was almost like drowning kind of breath where you come to the surface. And of course scared the hell out of my girl, and she's like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I almost died. And the mirrors started shaking and the TV turned on, and it was snow in the TV. And it was 3:33. I kid you not. The time was 3:33. And
So
I'm
you
like,
got the witching hour.
the
Basically.
witching hour.
Yeah.
Straight up. I'm like, this is probably one of the most terrifying moments of my life. And yeah, thank God this is the last night. That was it. We made it through.
Yeah, I mean, what'd you do? It's just, this is all happening, and you're just like, well, let's go back to sleep.
That's basically what we did. It's like, well, if we're going to die at this point, it's just going to happen. So we weren't able to go back to sleep. I mean, we tried. Nothing else happened that night after that. Other than the creaks, we heard like some creaks and occasional little mild thump. That was like the climax of the whole thing. But what I found most peculiar was when her aunt came back and she questioned her about that and told her about the experiences that we had. Her aunt's response was, "What have you guys been smoking?" Because she had no idea, said never experienced anything out of the ordinary whatsoever. There was her aunt's child lived in the house. He had Down syndrome, and she lived with her an older son and husband.
Oh, okay.
And all of them seemed to be utterly baffled.
And
of
this
course,
has never happened to them at all?
No, from what they told us, no.
Wow.
And of course, we hadn't been smoking anything, just for the record. A couple beers on the occasion. But
even that wouldn't be enough to
No,
justify.
and the dog barking like that at nothing.
And its eyes too. Like I'll never forget how
Yeah.
black those dogs' eyes looked. Like they were super dilated. I don't think I've ever seen more terror and fear on an animal's face in my life.
Oh man. Oh.
Just
I
the
get
house
chills.
alone.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I would not have been staying. I'd be like, okay,
Knowing
I'm
me-
taking the dog, going to a hotel.
Knowing me, I would have stayed and probably done an investigation. And,
Got some candles and
Right.
stuff.
Got candles, and tell whoever's staying with me, tell them to leave so I can get the Ouija board out. Just the normal stuff that I do. That's creepy. That's absolutely creepy.
we declined house sitting the following summers.
Hey, you want a house sitting? I'm good, thanks. I've had my share of paranormal, so I'm gonna go over here and play my music. Thanks.
Right on, man.
Well, okay, so all of that happened to you really made me want to dig in more. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find very much history or paranormal activity where the house is located in that city, but I can tell you that there's a couple things here that I caught that might justify what happened. I can't say it is, but let me just clarify some stuff. So you're house sitting for your girlfriend's aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you and your girlfriend became intimate, things would happen.
Yes.
Now, was it just during the intimacy, or was it like other times in the kitchen, or like getting a snack, or anything else?
Well, I mean, the whole coming home from being out, that happened twice.
And you
where-
said you felt
with
fine or worse?
Well, when we came home, no, we felt good when we came back, but finding the doors open and the noises come from upstairs, like it's not like we came in being affectionate with each other.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, we definitely, when we were sleeping, we weren't being affectionate with each other.
Okay.
It did instigate, it seemed like instigated what happened on the stairs there, which was just next level scary.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, that was the most intimate we've been with each other the entire week when that happened.
Okay. No, that's fine because the 3 possible theories that I have for what happened to you, before I get into this, because I really want to, but I have to ask you said that you had experienced paranormal stuff before the house, or was that the first time and then it just continued on after that?
No, I had definitely, I've been experiencing paranormal activity since I was a child.
Okay.
And I grew up in the foothills of the Appalachians.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're actually, all 3 of us are from the Appalachians.
Really?
Well, we're from Ohio, so we're like the far foothills of it, but
Oh, Ohio.
And
I
I'm
have
from
memories.
Virginia.
yeah.
Ohio's nice.
Yeah.
I just learned never to wear sandals and a t-shirt and shorts in the wintertime when going to visit a friend
In Ohio.
Yeah, you'll
in
learn that real
Ohio.
quick.
Yeah. And they made us get off the plane to walk into the terminal.
Oh,
That
wow.
was-
I've never
yeah.
had to get off the plane. And,
Oh.
at one time in Ohio I have, yeah.
I had all those looks like, oh, he's from California.
Yeah,
Dumbass.
you get a lot of snow.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful, but it's beautiful though. I love it.
A
It's
lot
so
of
beautiful.
paranormal activity in Ohio.
That and Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And I've
Yeah.
mentioned it before in a couple episodes, but yeah, but getting back to this. So, you said you've had paranormal experiences
Oh, yeah.
pretty much growing up all your life. I have 3 titles here to where it could have been this. It could have been just your regular average ghost, which is not really regular and average actually. There's a chance that you could have had a poltergeist in that home. And there's a chance that you could have had a demon in that home. Now, the reason being is this. For a ghost, ghosts like to make their presence known by sight. They are able to speak, but it's usually through EVPs, electronic voice phenomenons, or some sort of device like a spirit box, which is basically a box that just goes through a bunch of channels, radio waves, and it picks up little sentences or little words here and there, which then kind of helps you justify what the ghost is trying to say. Was there any change in temperature in any of the rooms, just out of curiosity?
I mean, there was slight changes, but a lot of times I feel like it was me getting goosebumps and feeling creeped out, which created me feeling kind of cold. But it wasn't
But
anything.
the shower.
Yeah. Oh, the shower was
That changing temperature,
Yeah, but as far as air is concerned, yeah, the water, that was very weird, and the flame going out. How did that flame? How can you explain that flame going out when it did?
Yeah, see, no, there are times where when it comes to a water heater, the flame actually, I have one where the flame goes out. It doesn't stay on because either it's not enough gas or something disrupt the gas flow to come through. So that can kind of be debunked as more of a technical issue. But at the same time, that is a little odd, though, that it would jump straight to cold without a toilet flushing or a sink being turned on or something. So that is a little odd for that to happen. And you can't say that happens a lot to those pilots. So again, it's in that factor of paranormal. So ghosts can actually bring or spirits can actually bring a certain type of smell. I call them smemories. Basically, it's just a smell that reminds you of something. On the Queen Mary, you've got a cigar smell that shows up randomly because I guess a captain used to smoke a cigar all the time. For Alcatraz, there's a lot of cigarette smells that pop up. So I don't know if you guys had any odors or any really weird smell, when you got up really early in the morning to go to work and then you smelled something that maybe smelled like rotten eggs or a cigarette or something.
I have in other experiences, but this particular one, no.
Okay.
There was no odor.
Yeah, they're also called phantom smells. Mm-hmm. So the second thing I have here is that it's quite possibly a poltergeist. Reason being is because you said you kept hearing thumping noises, really loud bangs, which poltergeists are known to be noisy ghosts, basically. You didn't mention anything being thrown, but you said it sounded like something had fallen or that someone had banged on the wall.
Very aggressive. It sounded like a large weight was just dropped on the floor. It was very aggressive.
Okay.
Very aggressive, boom.
So it looks like we're leaning towards poltergeist right now because you also talked about you and your girlfriend at the time, Jenny, correct?
Yes.
You guys would be intimate and all of a sudden something would happen. And there is a big thing for poltergeist, which is known as the disrupt of physical environment. If a poltergeist is in the room and it sees whether you're sitting down watching TV, you're just hanging out with friends, you're becoming intimate, whatever, for some reason it has this role of disrupting everything. Almost like it doesn't want you to be happy. If it can't be happy, you can't be happy. That's a pretty high possibility right there. Also, they're known for scratching, biting, attacking, harassing human victims. So you guys were harassed by noises.
Yes.
And you never got scratched or anything? No random, like...
No, there was nothing like no physical. There wasn't like any scratches or bruises on. But
Okay.
the sleep paralysis, it felt like there was an evil demonic presence pushing against my being. I thought I was going to implode or
Right.
get pushed in another realm or just simply die.
So definitely when that happens to you, the sleep paralysis, your brain starts doing the fight or flight instance. So that's where you start to become nervous and scared and worry that you're going to die. That's perfectly normal because anyone that goes through sleep paralysis, you're going to have those thoughts regardless. The last one here, I'm going to have to rule out as a no because it doesn't seem like it's that high end for a demonic type of entity in the house. But definitely it had some insidious and malevolent nature. Feeds off emotional energy and fear, which is what you were giving.
Yes.
Plus, especially the dog. I know animals can, they have that sixth sense, so they can tell whether something is disrupting their senses. And for a dog to show its teeth to something that's not there, that definitely plays off as demonic or poltergeist. They prey on people with physical and emotional weakness. Whether you know or not that you were mentally going through something, it could have been feeding off that. And also, there's this whole thing about how when it's a demon, most demons try to possess you, try to, invoke your soul or whatnot. That's not always the case. And especially for this story, it doesn't sound like that's the case. If that ever was, you would know because you'd have to be willing to invite it into you, basically. They can't just jump into you and be like, I'm possessing your body now. There's nothing you can do about it. What they do is they try to weaken you first by making it seem like you're hearing things, making it seem like you're seeing things. Then you start to see stuff. And then if you try to explain it, people are like, oh, you're just crazy. And that's when someone tells you you're crazy, your emotional side starts to come down a little bit and it's got you. And that's when the possessions will start to happen, or semi-possession, which is your emotional side is being taken over. And then a full possession is when you have no control anymore. But I'm going to have to rule in a poltergeist at that house. Now, I didn't find anything like Native American burial ground or, actually, it's going to be discussed in another episode called a Dibbit Box. There was no actual physical thing that was ever shown. No records were shown of any deaths around there, so I'm not too sure about that. But because you have had paranormal experiences younger, there's a very high chance that something could have been attached to you.
Great.
Creepy? Yes, I know. So, been there, done that, not fun. Read the book.
I
Good luck, Dryden.
Only a matter of time, family.
Now,
before
here's
you get to experience
here's the
this.
thing, though.
Oh, wait. Coming up next.
So the thing is that if something is attached to you, and it's been attached to you for a while, there's a thing called a jealous spirit. And that is, it's so used to being around you, and it's so used to growing up with you and knowing your lifestyle that when someone else comes in on an emotional level, it becomes jealous. So there is a possibility, because like you said, you and your girl at the time were becoming intimate. There's a possibility that that spirit that was attached to you was starting to become jealous, and thus causing the bumping and the loud bangs and the mirror shaking and the TV turning on. But again, that also rules in the poltergeist moments too. So that could play. Now, I'm not a full expert on this. I wish I was, but I'm not. It's just...
But wouldn't you have experienced other things with her then?
There's a chance, yes, that you can, and there's also a chance that no, you won't. It all really... I wish there was a device that you could, pull up the spirit that's with you just to kind of get a better sense as to what it is. But unfortunately, all we can do these days is just, the EVPs and the sound box and all that. So you to have more of an experience than she did tells me, though, that whatever it was has been with you for a while. Now, whether it's good or bad, I can't tell you. It seems like it's not as bad as it would be, though, because, you've been with your band for a while and you've been doing tours and playing. I know for the tour story, you guys had a couple breakdowns, but I don't think that would be in relation to a spirit. I think that'd just be a natural occurrence. But yeah, there's a high chance that you just continuously have a spirit either watching over you or having some sort of jealousy within that time of the relationship and the house sitting. So that, again, that's just my theory on that. I don't really know if it is true or not. I would love one day to actually go to that house and do a full investigation. That would be great. So let's get into the tour, because I read that tour and that was kind of creepy where you guys ended up. And it's one of those what are the odds?
I didn't even know that's where we ended up until we were just talking about it over the weekend, because he was kind of going over like the whole story again. I mean, it seemed like everyone, when we were telling the story, because we were in Mammoth celebrating our drummer's birthday this past weekend, but everyone there was like, that story, like how nice everybody was to you, that seems like off-putting.
It really is.
How much people were helping us. They were driving us places and this and that. And I'm like, maybe I'm just naive, which I'm not usually naive, but I was like, after all the crap we had been through, I was like, thank you, universe, you know, but let them tell the story because it's their story. But.
Yeah. Okay. So let's.
You're in this too.
Let's hear this.
I was
this is
only
interesting.
She wasn't conscious, but she was there.
I mean, I heard you guys.
Yeah. She.
Anyway.
Falling asleep to the
madness.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, go ahead. Give us, I guess, like you were with the other story. Go ahead and give us a summary of what happened.
Well, we ended up at this. As you mentioned, we were having quite a bit of car trouble, and we found this mechanic in this remote part of the state in Colorado. Now we were driving up. We were going up north to Denver. Our next show was in Denver, and
but we had 2 days off.
Yeah, we had 2 days off, so
the
stars kind of aligned for us to actually have this work done. So Sierra made some calls, and we ended up dropping off the van at this mechanic in a remote location. It was like kind of like a prairie. It was like a prairie in this Amish community.
We were in like the sand dunes. So we were in between the Great Sand Dunes and Denver. And I'm like, okay, where can we go that's like on the way? And this was the first place that I even called actually as well, which is kind of weird.
This is turning out to be the best horror movie ever.
Plenty more where that came from, G-Man.
It had a happy ending.
Yeah.
This summer, Blooming Fire experiences their own personal UFO experience.
Yes.
In theaters soon.
Dig it. Okay, so we ended up dropping the van off. Of course, there's no Lyfts or Ubers or even taxi services.
Well, here, let me tell this part of it because, so I find this campsite that we're going to camp at, like up in the mountains, because we actually planned this whole like waterfall hot spring hike that we actually ended up having to forfeit because we needed to get the ball joints changed. So we didn't actually break down.
Okay.
The breakdown happened earlier. It was at old tires, and we got the new tires, but the guys that put the tires on were like, oh, your ball joints, you want to keep an eye on them. So every time we'd like refill gas, Robbie would be bandad. He'd be checking the ball joints. And by the time we were this far into the trip, we checked the ball joints. He's like, they're way too worn. I don't feel comfortable like going all the way to Denver, going all the way to Vegas, going all the way back to LA, blah, blah, blah.
That's a lot of miles you're putting on that thing, yeah.
So, and we already had been through a lot. We already missed one show because of the tires. So we're like, we can't miss anything else. So, I called these people up. They're like so nice on the phone, like just great. And I find us a new camping spot where we could hike without having to drive anywhere. We could hike from the camping area. I'm like, okay, this is great. It's like, didn't know exactly how we were going to kind of get back and forth because, again, we're in the middle of nowhere. There are no taxis. So Robbie drops all of us off at the campsite, all the gear, the camping gear, all the food, everything. So we start making camp and getting settled, and he goes and drops the van off. So the guy agrees. He actually gets someone else there, like this other friend that's getting work done on the car. He's like, oh, well, will you give him a ride back to the campsite? And the guy says yes. He even drives Robbie to like stop and get extra firewood, extra water.
Wow.
He like drove him a couple places, which like, again, it could have been the kindness of his heart, which is a beautiful thing. And I want to believe that people are like that in the world.
Right, yeah.
But drives Robbie back. And then the mechanic also arranged for the girlfriend to pick him up in the morning when the vehicle was done. So that leads you to when we're dropped off at the campsite.
Okay.
This is still early in the day. We got there pretty early and decided to go hiking. So once Robbie got back, we still went out and went hiking, had a whole beautiful hiking adventure, came back. I made us like a full-blown gourmet campfire meal you could imagine when you're on tour.
Right, yeah.
But anyway, we all settled down, and I'm like, all right, I'm zonked. Alyssa and Robbie are already in bed. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go lay down. And then so it's just Ian and Dryden left around the fire. And I'll let Dryden and Ian take over from there.
Okay, yeah. So we're letting the food digest, and Ian and I start connecting, and we start sharing some of the various paranormal experiences that we've had throughout our life. The one we just discussed was in there.
Sorry, where we were at was like up in the mountain and overlooking the whole town.
Oh, wow.
So you could
okay.
see the whole little town that we were at, and
So
like
you had
the
a
stars
great view.
all above.
Oh, yeah,
like,
right where we
Okay.
were sitting. It was
and
a
it's
big
not like
opening.
we're deep in the woods. We're like on the edge of this mountain, like where the
Okay.
campsite was. So it was really an interesting star view and city view.
Okay.
Yeah, you could see out like 50 miles, and it was like this vast prairie. And then on the other side of the prairie, it was the foothills of the Rockies. So you and I, we were just watching this view. Also, I need to add that some neighbors. We were in a remote. The campground was closed.
Yeah, the water wasn't even running. Couldn't even get water out of the faucets or anything.
Wow.
So it's kind of weird that anyone was even staying here at this time because it was just about when it was starting to get cold, super cold.
Yeah, like when we first got dropped off, there was probably one other people, and they had like a whole RV, and they were like kind of farther away. It wasn't like there was a lot of people camping or anything. We were totally like out there on our own.
Wow.
Go on.
Were they? You said, and it was just you guys at the campsite?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
our
Okay.
group. I mean, we weren't traveling with anyone else, just us and our dogs.
Okay.
And
It
It was a
then-
pretty big campsite. Like, it wasn't like
Yeah.
you're driving through the roads to be able to pick whatever campsite you
Oh,
camp
okay.
at. So for them to pick the exact campsite
He's talking about the
next
neighbors
to
that
us.
Yeah,
ended
the
up
neighbors
blowing
that
up.
showed
yeah,
up.
Not
Okay.
the RV. Yeah, the neighbors that
Gotcha.
just showed up randomly.
And they showed
camped
up
at-
late.
randomly in the middle of the night. This
Which
was already
happens,
by the
but-
time that we're cooking our meal,
Oh, wow.
which is kind of like, I mean,
And they could have picked any
Anybody-
site.
yeah,
any
anybody
site
that's
was
camping.
right
like
next
there's
to
like
you.
a lot of
next to
sites
us.
available
Wow.
right next to us.
Yeah, it was really strange. We were kind of getting some weird vibes over there. They had a roaring fire going. There was just something that was off. You know, when you can just sense an energy with people, even if you're not communicating per se, you can just kind of sense it. And there was just something, I don't know what it was. It was just kind of very otherworldly coming next door. I was like, I don't know why I'm
Well,
feeling
tell them about the
this.
noises.
well, yeah. First of all, the fire just started out of nowhere. That's kind of what I feel like caught our eye.
Oh,
Like,
you
it
didn't
just
see
start-
anybody?
They were there, but it was just like I feel like you would see a fire start small and then them
And
throw
grow.
big stuff on, but
Oh,
it was
wow.
just instantly big, and he had this giant stick that he was like stabbing the fire with, like
What?
giant. Like I'm talking about like a tree, like part of a tree, not like a stick. Like,
Oh, my gosh.
so I feel like that's kind of what caught my attention at least.
And that roaring fire suddenly went out.
Just
W-
done.
Like a light switch off.
That was after the noises we started hearing, though.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
noises. What were these noises you were hearing?
They were otherworldly. I don't know. They weren't like a language that I've heard before, like Spanish or anything like that. And it definitely wasn't English. It just sounded more or less like tones. Like
Whoa.
like I don't even know. Like,
It was like kind of like a murmur, like kind of like this.
yeah,
like
exactly.
moaning or
Kind of, but kind of like
As
moaning,
if like they were talking quietly, but without actual words.
Kind of.
coming out.
We went through all of these different possibilities,
Right,
like,
and we're like, it's
through
through
each
a
other. We're
canyon,
like,
like-
yo, maybe they're just talking quietly. We can't hear them. We're not paying attention. Then we went through the thought process of
they were
'cause
talking about it. They're like, what could it be? And,
yeah,
like,
it sounded weird, like moaning too. So we were like, all right, maybe they're having sex and it's getting a little too far. Like the guy
Right.
got too drunk and he's getting too hands-on. But I remember telling Dryden, I'm like, if that's happening right now, that girl's gonna be saying no. But there was no
Who knows?
words coming out, no
Wow.
words coming out. But as soon as I said that to Dryden, I'm like, don't you think that she would be saying like, no, don't do that, stop? As soon as we said that, that was the first words that we heard.
Wow.
That was the only
No,
word. That was the only
don't
word
do
that we
that.
understood.
Stop.
Weird.
Like that though, not like it was like talking like we are. Like I feel like we have like tones and like it was just like very like no, stop.
Huh.
okay.
Right
Creepy.
after we're like, and when we were discussing it, it's not like we're speaking loudly so they can hear
Yeah,
us.
we're whispering
like
to each
sitting
other. We're
next
like
to each
we're
other.
like,
Oh,
we're like
okay.
trying to
Like-
figure this out. We're like, yo, what is this?
Like, what's happening
Oh
over
my
there? You know, like it was just like a weird coincidence for everything that happened after.
Right.
So it was right around that time where we saw our first UFO of the evening.
Explain that, because I remember reading about you saw lights, amber lights.
Yeah, and the name of our tour is Amber Waves, and amber, the color seemed to be a predominant theme throughout the entire duration of our trip. Even that day when we went on the hike, the hills were all amber-like, and
All the sunsets, the
was
moon,
amber,
the moon
and-
was amber every
yeah.
night.
What are the odds of
Like-
that, though?
And
I mean,
this is early fall, by the way.
okay.
I mean, that is why we called it the Amber Wave
Yeah.
Store.
That's
Right.
smart. That's real smart.
Because of the fall.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so it kind of caught our eye, and we felt drawn to this light. We weren't sure what we were seeing yet. You know, when you catch something in your periphery. So we ran to the edge of our campsite where you could see that view going out about 15 miles or so, and we're just kind of watching for a second, and then we see it clearly for the first time, an amber orb. It shoots out of the top of the mountains, the foothills on the other side of the prairie, and it goes to our left, travels down towards the town, this tiny little Amish town. There was a few lights in that town, and it got lower and lower and lower, and then shot off towards the town and just disappeared about halfway through the town.
Whoa.
And I remember Ian and we were really excited. Like, we weren't freaked out. We were
Yeah,
actually
it was
like, bring it
instantly
on.
intrigued.
Yeah, we were just talking about all these stories that we've had. And we were talking about UFOs.
All of them.
And
Shapeshifters, UFOs, folklores, and it was just instantly, like, as soon as we started talking about all this crazy stuff that happened, Dryden was like, yo, did you just see that?
And the neighbors pulling up at the same time, and like the weird vibe with
What
them.
are
So,
the
like,
odds of
the
that?
whole
Yeah.
energy of the whole moment was getting,
Definitely not a coincidence, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
yeah, synchronicity.
Right? Yeah.
Synchro destiny.
Oh, God.
This summer.
So it didn't stop there, G-Man. It was one orb after another. It's not like I've had plenty of experiences where, you know, you've seen that one
seen
orb in the sky.
one time.
And
Right, and you
that's it
guys
for
were
the
even
night.
like, is it a car? Is it a satellite? Like, they were like talking.
All the questionable
I
possibilities.
was
All the
still
possibilities,
awake.
you know?
I was
Yeah.
still awake in my tent, and I heard them like saying all this. They're like, "Well, are you sure? Is it? And then they like confirmed, like, no, like this is like the way it was moving and everything.
I love how Sierra said she was tired, and then she's
Like,
like
you
listening
could-
to you
you
guys
could-
the
Once you
entire
hear what they're
time.
talking about, I'm like, should I go back out there? I'm like,
I was
like,
really
these
hoping the rest of
fools.
the band was doing the joint. I was hoping that everyone heard us and was going to wake up and watch this phenomenon with us. But they didn't. It was just Ian and myself, and it was one UFO after another. And in my logical side, I'm trying to find a logical explanation for what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not immediately saying, it's aliens, man.
Were they all taking the same route?
The same
or
route.
Was it,
The
okay.
same route. We thought it was cars. We
Yeah.
honestly thought it was cars, but there was points in time where the orbs were going by that you could see the difference between whatever that orb was and car headlights
yeah.
in the mountains. Like,
Very distinct difference.
And I imagine they had a certain specific pattern that their movement that they were
Yeah.
doing, as opposed to a car, which you're only allowed a certain movement
Exactly.
because of the road. So
Yeah, and you can also explain how it shot out the top of the mountain and dropped down really quickly. And it was still,
man.
it was in the air. Like, we're trying to, like, wait, is it just a depth thing? Is it on the ground but just looks like it's in there? Like, no, we confirmed after several orbs that this, whatever that was in the air. So at some point, I'd grabbed my headlight. We'd been there watching this for maybe 25, 30 minutes. I grabbed my little camping headlight, and I turned it on, and I start flashing it at the orb. Hey, just to see what happens. I mean,
They're like, let's make contact.
yeah, they're like, we're trying to communicate
I'm like,
with
"Oh,
this
God,
alien right now.
Don't make contact. What are you doing? You can't
We're
be
not
taken.
scared. No, aliens, they're going to show us something. We're going to come back and we're going to make the tour 10 times better.
Okay.
So, right, precisely. Thank you, Ian. There it is.
I mean, come on, making contact, and then
That
all
would
of a
be
sudden
sick.
your show is
sick. Come on.
out
Join us
of
on
this
stage.
world.
This world, right?
Not the. I mean, we've spotted UFOs while playing on stage in a desert. Just a
Yeah.
side note.
Our
That
first festival, actually, and everyone in the audience saw it and was
Wow.
pointing while we were playing, and we couldn't see it because we were covered. in
Right,
the stock.
okay.
But that's another story for another day.
Yeah,
But they're
we'll
like,
have to wait for.
I want to
another time.
chime in real quick and say that the couple nights before this happened were the nights that the entire band, like when we broke down the first time and we were camping out in New Mexico, we were all saying, man, I really wish we could see a UFO right now. It'd be really cool if we saw a UFO right now. This was a couple nights.
in New
Okay.
Mexico.
And this
yeah.
and this particular night that me and Dryden were hanging out, we were just, like you said, digesting, having a beer or two, like hanging out, talking, and we were not talking about UFOs once. We did not say, man, I really wish I could see a UFO right now. So I think it's kind of ironic that it happened that night that
Yeah.
we weren't talking about
Okay.
it.
And
So
yet
your
it's funny, the fact that you were in New Mexico
Yeah.
and you were saying that, and New Mexico has had their fair share
Yeah.
of sightings. So I'm surprised that nothing happened
We
there.
saw
But
nothing.
that,
oh, stuff
Yeah.
happened.
what are the odds
but
though that
not
you're
a
talking
UFO
about it
this
in New
time.
Mexico, but then it happens in another state?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, you don't expect it to be in Colorado.
You wouldn't.
I mean, I wouldn't. I wasn't
Yeah.
like, oh, New Mexico somewhere. We were like, that's why we were
Yeah,
saying it.
everyone
We're
hears
like,
about Roswell and all that in New
Right,
Mexico,
right.
but in Colorado, it's like
That's
you got-
just hippies and
yeah,
mountains.
yeah,
like-
exactly. That's crazy.
But anyway, you're
light.
communicating with
Yeah,
the
so you're
headlamp.
communicating with these lights.
And the first time I tried this, now from our perspective, these orbs were at least 5 to 10 miles away from us, at least. So you'd think a little camping headlight that you use just to, find your gear right in front of you, nothing could spot that or see that where you're at. But when I clicked the light on and off, the orb went from amber to this bright white luminous color.
And it got bigger and like brighter, like you could feel it. Like,
Whoa.
We had to shield our eyes from this. That's how intense it got.
Wow.
And then I remember Ian putting his arm around me and he's like, please make contact. Please make contact. And I'm thinking, yes, yes, yes. But at the same time, I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, what is going to happen to us tonight? Oh, my God. We're watching more UFOs kind of do their thing. And then finally, a little change in the scene. I hear like a noise behind us, farther back in the woods. Now, there wasn't anyone camped out in that area. But when I turned around, I saw a light back there, and I felt drawn to the light.
and it wasn't a light in the sky.
No, this
like
was-
we were watching
is on the
moments
ground.
ago.
Oh, now this is
It's on the
in
ground.
oh, okay.
It's in the woods,
Okay.
like in the campground that we're at now.
Wow.
So I just start walking into the woods, nonchalantly just going towards this with absolutely zero fear. I felt like there was a magnet inside me, and it was just pulling me along, and I felt driven to just walk towards this thing. So I remember Ian trying to stop me, like, no, don't go over there. What are you doing? And I assured him that everything was going to be okay. And right before that, though, I started like chanting this old folklore called the Wendigo.
Ah, yes. Okay. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's the Algonquin tribes in Canada talked about this demonic force that would come from the sky and find hunters in the dead of winter, pick up the hunters and grab them across the ground till their feet burned off, and drag them into the sky and drop them. So right as we're walking, I'm like, I start telling
He's
Ian
just
about.
telling me the story as we're walking towards this creepy light. He's like, "Hey man, you ever heard this folklore called the Wendigo?"
Wendigo.
I'm like, "What?"
And what's,
Now you decide to tell me this.
Right. I'm like,
Also, might I add, as I was telling this, I kind of felt something was possessing me to tell it. I didn't feel like I was quite myself at all. I felt very odd, very strange, but I felt no fear. I was aware that there was like some sort of otherworldly force was what it felt like taking over, but I was as cool as a cucumber. And so we're walking, we tell this story, and then time just kind of stood still for a while.
Right.
kind of
was
like a blink of the eye, where it's
Yeah.
just like, but you're still here, but a moment went by.
Yeah.
Time stood still, and then it went from one moment we were, on this part, like by the road in the woods, and next, like we were on this other part of the road, and the wind was howling. When we were walking into the woods, it was calm.
It wasn't just howling. It was like twister winds, like it was like bad winds.
Like it just picked up out of nowhere. It
Well,
wasn't
this was
windy beforehand.
We noticed it. Yeah, it wasn't windy before, and
Oh,
this is
wow.
like this
Clear
was the
night.
moment of time.
Oh, wow.
Like the blink, and then all of a sudden we woke up, and it was roaring winds, like enough.
Whoa.
I don't know if it was like dead trees, like they're falling over.
Right.
Yeah, and it was really creepy because like the branches were all the shadows casted from the moon were like it seemed like the trees were kind of alive and encroaching upon our being. It was really crazy, and when I came to, I was dancing uncontrollably, like movements I've never made before. Dancing,
Like something possessed you
Like
to
ritualistic
just start,
dancing
Yeah,
is the only
ritualistic
way I
dance of
could.
some sort.
Like,
Yeah.
but it was like
Wasn't he
tribal
like
alien.
Ian? Wasn't he like several feet away from you?
Yeah, he was like, we were right next to each other, like we had been the whole time. Like yo, dude, like look at this thing happening.
yeah.
And then he was definitely more than one arm's length away. Like I couldn't touch him anymore.
When you guys woke up.
when
from
we
the
woke
blink of
up,
the
like
eye.
that moment, yeah.
Oh wow.
And he was
He was
dancing,
tribalistically, almost like
That's-
psytrance looking
Right,
dancing, like
yeah.
how people dance to
Twisting
psytrance
their
music.
Right.
joints and stuff, whatever joint
Like
you could
contorting,
twist.
yeah.
Like
It was very, and at that point, I did feel fear because I was fearful of the time distortion. I was fearful of the fact that when we finally did check our phones, that 2 hours had gone by that we couldn't account for.
Right. Yeah.
And it was like, Ian, did we get abducted? What just happened to us? I'd never felt anything quite like that.
Yeah. I have no words to explain the dancing or the time loss. I can't say that it's possible though, because a lot of people have had accounts where 1 minute they're doing something and then the next minute 3 hours or 4 hours have gone by and they don't recall what happened to them. Especially UFO wise, there have been a lot of accounts where people don't recall the last hour or 2 hours of what happened, but other people can tell you like, yeah, you were doing this and you were doing that and it made no sense, and we kind of just let you be, and then you came to, so that, I mean, that's, what are the odds though that would happen to you in Colorado out of all places too?
Right? Yeah, so what'd you went back to the campsite?
So hold on, when you woke up, what did you have in your hands though when we were going over there?
No.
Before
the flashlight.
Remember? So we went over there. So naturally, if you see a light, he has this flashlight. We're like shining. We're like, what is
his
that?
Headlamp.
Like his headlamp, the one that he was shining at the other orbs. And then when he woke up, he instantly was like, "Yo, Ian, where's my headlamp at?" Like he didn't have, like he had it in his hand, like he was shining it over there for us to be able to see. It's gone. He's like, "Yo, I just had it right here." I'm like, he's like checking all his pockets. He had me check his pockets. He's like checking the ground. We're like looking everywhere where we're standing. Like it can't be like.
And it was like nowhere like 5 feet away from you.
It was. We walked back down. So where our campsite was, it was a little. The road was a little up from our campsite, so we had to walk down a little set of stairs.
Okay.
So as soon as we walked down into the campsite, it was sitting in Dryden's chair. Like in the arm of it.
As if like it just never left.
And we never went back over there until after that experience.
Oh, wow.
Meanwhile, after this has happened, the orbs are still coming up over the mountain.
Like we went to sleep with the orbs going.
Yeah.
Over the mountain and making the same movements.
At some point, it's like, this is old news. We've been there, done that.
Sierra's yelling at us. She's like, "Yo, you guys got to go to bed." Like,
I mean, I think I fell asleep, and then they came back, and I was like, "You guys
are
like,
freaking out."
Yeah, you guys are so late. Like, we have to drive in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And were the neighbors still up? Because the neighbors are the very end
No,
of
at
the
this
story.
point, they were already gone. No, they were in their tent when they were making those noises, so they're already sleeping.
Right. So we go to sleep, and they go to sleep. I'm like, go to sleep. And we wake up. We have an early wake up call because the girlfriend's coming to pick up Robbie to pick up the van. And
Had to have been 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Or 8.
No, it was definitely 6 or 7.
Yeah, it was like early,
8.
like like if you're camping, you are not purposely waking up at 7.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because the game plan was to have breakfast before Robbie left, like to make the full breakfast, and then while he got picked up, to pack everything up and have it packed and ready when he came with the van, load it, and get out of there. But when we woke up between like 6 and 7, the other camp people who came super late were gone.
Just completely picked up.
And you guys didn't hear them pack up?
Nothing.
No sign of a fire.
And they got there late, remember. They got there late. Right. So for them to get there late and pack up at like 6 a.m., which could happen.
It could happen.
Yeah.
People are traveling through, whatever. It's just kind of
abnormal.
like a weird thing.
But I mean, we as humans, we make a lot of noises when we pack stuff up.
Right.
Whether you're trying to or not. Doesn't matter.
Right.
We always
Even the
manage.
slamming of
the doors,
and,
starting a car, all that.
Yeah.
So the fact that you didn't hear anything or any movement at all, that's a little eerie. Yeah. Wow. And that's insane.
I'm gonna wrap up the story here by saying that Ian found 2 perfect circles on his back, like mole-like perfect circles.
Okay, yeah.
This is weeks after. This is like maybe a week after we got home from tour, so it was probably like closer to, I'd say like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
That you noticed it?
Yeah, this is like a week after we got home from tour, so that had to have been like another 4 or 5 days still on tour. So like it was a week and a half from the occurrence, and then Dryden.
Do you think you just didn't notice it? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe. But the way that it wasn't like it was a scrape. Like I said, I'm a skateboarder, so I like it wasn't like it was a scrape or a scratch. It was just kind of like.
And this is a week later that you had gotten these marks on your back,
or at least noticed them,
Because I mean, even then, like to lay on something and have it imprint on your body, it goes away as time goes on.
Right.
So the fact that you just now seeing it a week after all that had happened. And it's still on you is another eerie type of thing to have. Yeah.
You know when you get a shot, the way that the scab feels when you get a shot?
Yeah.
It's not like it's a scratch. It's just like this thing because it injected into you perfectly.
That's
and it's
crazy.
Just this little like, that's what it was.
Do you think that there's a possibility of you being injected with something to lose that time and memory of that, was it the hour or two that went by that you don't recall?
Maybe. I don't know if it was for that reason. I think the loss of time is because we don't understand whatever dimension that they're taking us, if we're going to a different dimension.
Our mainframe crashed. And I found it was like this red bump on my hip, which is still kind of there, actually. And since then, I have this rash all over my body, and the doctors say it's eczema. But it didn't really start flaring up until after that experience.
That's crazy.
When we drove out of there, when we finally got the van back and all was said and done, and we're driving out of this Amish town, this was like something out of Children of the Corn. Do you remember all those kids on bikes, how they all just waved at us in unison as we left that town?
Oh, that's creepy. That's
Just
It was just
stop.
way too perfect. It was
Yeah.
just- all right, so
Everything
that
about
doesn't-
the situation was way too perfect.
That doesn't end
Like,
it though, Dryden. You have to tell about your friend. So when we left finally and we got
yeah,
to
we
our
got to
show in
Denver.
Denver.
He had a friend who he hasn't seen, who he went to college with for many years, who came to see us play
Oh, nice.
for the first time. And did we tell him about it, or we just told him where
Yeah,
we camped?
Dryden was I'm sure Dryden was telling the
told him all
story
about the
excited, like,
story,
yo,
yeah.
this happened last night.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like at this time we're kind of also still freaking out. We're like, yo, like what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt told us that there's been numerous documentaries filmed around the same area that we were camped at.
Whoa.
And most notoriously, it's known for cow mutilations. And we saw all kinds of cattle over there. And they say the mutilations can't be replicated by humans. It's like precise laser precision, and it's just some really weird stuff has gone on there. Fortunately, I can't remember the name. He said it was on Netflix. He gave me the name, and it's eluding me right now. I really need to hit him up and get that name.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you ever get the chance,
Because I haven't seen any
get
myself.
the title of it, let me know. I'd love to check that out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
That'd
for
be
those of
great.
you listening, yeah, I definitely encourage you to look into that.
That's so crazy. I know we're getting short on time here, but I just wanted to go over a couple things here. The information I looked up for Colorado blew my mind, actually, because it's actually pretty common to see UFOs in Colorado. Gosh, 2001 to 2015, there have been 3,197 sightings of UFOs in Colorado.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It gets even crazier, Ian. There's an Air Force base called Peterson Air Force Base. And in 1949, there were 3 Air Force personnel who witnessed disc-like flying objects over the base. And since then, people have been witnessing more lights or disc-like objects flying, not just from the base, but from where you guys are at. The location where you guys were camping at is one of the most popular spots to see UFOs and to have weird accounts with people who show up and disappear. So the people that showed up and making those weird noises, if I recall right, a man that I had talked to named Dan, he lives in Colorado. He actually lives not that far from the campsites where you guys were at. And he said that there was a couple, a family, and another couple, and they had camped around the same time you guys had camped there in the fall and everything where it was closed. And they have had random neighbors show up right next to them. And they even said that there was some weird mumbling noises, almost like it wasn't Spanish, it wasn't European, it just, like you said, sound, Ian. Just these weird sounds coming out of their mouth.
That's giving me
I
the
got
chills.
mad goosebumps right now.
So,
When you tell someone that, they're like, of course, oh no, that was just people like hooking up, or
Right,
that's just
yeah.
people talking and traveling weird, or like
Yeah.
you think all these things. I mean, even all of us were like, no, this is what it is, you know?
The theory is that if these are UFOs, the theory goes is that the people that show up to the campsite, the neighbors, the ones that are, next to them, supposedly they could be scouts. And supposedly what they're doing is that they're basically repeating back everything you're saying to their mothership. Supposedly. Now, I'm not saying this is true. I'm not saying it's not true. But again, there have been multiple witness accounts that these voices or these weird inflections in voices of these campers next to them, and then all of a sudden they wake up 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It's like there was no fire in the first place. There was no car noise to take off, and there's no area that shows that they had to put down stakes for a tent. So you guys have had the same experience that everybody else has had. In fact,
Wonderful.
the Great Sand Dunes National Park and Reserve has had more than 60 sightings of UFOs right there in that spot. And then the dunes itself in Colorado, actually Colorado itself has had about over 3,000 sightings of UFOs.
Wow. I mean, we
Yeah.
were north of the dunes, but that's
What if
we were-
that's
That's still
that
pretty.
was the area we were all in. I
yeah.
mean,
So, I mean, you guys may have had just had your
Wow.
own personal
a conundrum?
a conundrum. Yeah, conundrum. Oh my gosh. Well, listen, guys. Well, so that's going to do it for me today here here on Into the Void. I want to thank Blooming Fire so much for coming on. And Sierra, if you could just give us the announcement of the tours and where you guys are playing at one more time, just for our listeners.
Well, if you want to find any information on us, we have a website. It's just bloomingfiremusic.com. You can find us on any social media just under Blooming Fire. We're also on iTunes and Spotify. And then stay tuned. We have lots of beach cleanups coming up and definitely more LA shows. And then we'll be probably, booking our next tour for maybe the fall again.
Ooh. Hope you guys go back to Colorado. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be.
Awesome. Well, also, I just want to say if you guys like this episode and you want to leave a comment, go ahead and leave your comments on our Instagram at Void Podcast 18. We also have a Facebook at Pod Paranormal 87 and our Twitter page at Nightwing Silver. And with that, I'm G-Man, and I want to thank you for falling with me into the void. We'll catch you next time.